Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu appoints Cardoso as CBN governor. Federal government to produce 24,000 passports daily. Plus, Ukraine troops capture eastern village near Bakhmut. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We'll begin tonight with the breaking news where President Bola Tinubu has approved the nomination of Dr. Olayemi Michael Cardoso to serve as the new governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. According to a press statement by presidential spokesman Ajuri Ngelale, this evening, Cardoso will serve for a term of 5 years at the first instance, pending his confirmation by the Nigerian Senate. This directive is in conformity with Section 8, Subsection 1 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007, which vests in the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria the authority to appoint the governor and 4 deputy governors for the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN, subject to confirmation by the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Furthermore, President Bola Tinubu has also approved the nomination of 4 new deputy governors of the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN for a term of 5 years at the first instance, pending their confirmation by the Senate. The new deputy governors include Nana Usoro, Muhammad Sani Abdullahi Dattijo, Philip Ikazo, and Dr. Bala M. Bello. Meanwhile, President Tinubu will on Sunday depart Abuja to attend the United Nations General Assembly UNGA in New York, United States of America. The special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, disclosed this while briefing State House correspondents today. The presidential spokesman said that the President will use the opportunity to meet and hold bilateral meetings with other heads of state and key economic stakeholders around the world. Approved the establishment of a presidential committee dedicated to reforming the livestock industry and providing long-term solutions to recurring clashes between herders and farmers in the country. The special advisor on media and publicity to the President, Ajuri Ngelale, disclosed this in a statement. The committee's establishment came after the submission of a report from the National Conference on Livestock Reforms and Mitigation of Associated Conflicts in Nigeria. The President explained that the committee is expected to collaborate with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security and propose recommendations to foster a peaceful coexistence between herders and farmers while ensuring the security and economic well-being of all Nigerians.
We studied previous attempts, the failures, the successes. We put them together and made recommendations to Mr. President. But in order to find the solution, practical solution, that will provide the desired goals, you need strong institution. We recommended for the establishment of Ministry of Livestock and subsequent agencies.
Most of the cattle routes have been taken over either as a result of urbanization, encroachment or as a result of development. Even the grazing reserves in some states that are gazetted have been taken over for selfish reasons. So where do you expect them to go to? They will go to other areas, and in the process of the movement, they are likely going to conflict.
And this committee, one of the recommendations is the issue of ranching that will enable them to settle down. It's been proven scientifically that animals that are ranched or that are not
Away from that, the federal government is planning to produce at least 24,000 passports daily to completely eradicate the delays citizens experience in obtaining their passports. Reports say the production would commence immediately after the 200,000 backlogs of passports are cleared. The Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo disclosed this in Abuja today when a delegation from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes visited his office. A statement by the ministry's Director of Press, Ajibola Afonja, quoted the minister as saying that about 97,000 out of the 200,000 backlogs of passports had been cleared. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Solid Minerals has made efforts to attract investors to explore lithium deposits in the country. This was according to a statement by the ministry's Deputy Director of Information, Alaba Balogun. The exhibition booth of the Ministry of Solid Minerals at the Pan Pacific Hotel during the 21st Africa Down Under Conference in Perth, Australia. The statement disclosed that the investors showed interest in the country's minerals. The Minister of Solid Minerals, Delia Lake, also assured investors of safety, reiterating that the government has given illegal miners 30 days to join cooperatives in addition to plans to deploy surveillance task force and mine police to combat criminals at the mines. Elsewhere, the federal government has inaugurated a 15-man inter-ministerial committee for the country's 63rd Independence Day celebration. The committee is headed by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akome. The members of the committee include Minister of Information and Culture, Minister of Interior, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of the FCT, National Security Advisor, Inspector General of Police, Director General of the Department of State Services, and Commander of the Guards Brigade, among others. Akome noted that the committee was constituted to plan, organize, and execute all approved activities befitting Nigeria's 63rd Independence Anniversary celebration on October 1, 2023. The SGF said the celebration of the 63rd Independence Anniversary had provided an opportunity to reflect on the contributions and sacrifices of the national heroes and heroines who fought for the independence of Nigeria from the colonial masters, as well as showcase government achievements in dealing with myriads of challenges in social and economic sectors confronting the nation.
The proposed activities for the celebration would be subject to finalization by the Interministerial Committee. We don't have time. But what is on our side is the quality of the resource persons we have. I believe that given our resource base, as qualitative as it is, we should be able to achieve our set goals. The proposed activities for the celebration would be subject to finalization by the Interministerial Committee. We don't have time. But what is on our side is the quality of the resource persons we have. I believe that given our resource base, as qualitative as it is, we should be able.
In the meantime, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs has promised to upgrade the garment factory, the Mariam Babangida National Center for Women Development. The Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Kennedy Ohanenye, disclosed this during a fact-finding visit to the Government Science and Technical College in Abuja today. Kennedy Ohanenye said that the upgrade was part of the ministry's skills acquisition plans for women, youths, and children. According to her, the upgrading of the garment factory is in pursuance of her sustained drive to expose school children to skills acquisition and vocational training. She said her visit to the school was also to assess the electrical, furniture, computer, craft studies, and vehicle mechanics sections at the garment and identify areas of collaboration with the school management. Meanwhile, the Accountant General of the Federation, Oluwatoyin Madain, has reaffirmed her commitment to upholding and promoting the ideals of prudence, transparency, and accountability in government financial transactions. In a statement issued in Abuja, the AGF said she will take requisite steps to permanently resolve observed and potential threats to the efficient and continuous implementation of all financial management reforms initiated by the federal government. Madain explained that since assumption of office, she has undertaken in-depth review of the financial reforms and would leverage on the outcome of the review to inject new ideas and strategies into the projects to sustain the gains. She said the OAGF would sustain the practice of publishing the details of FAC revenue distribution to the 3 tiers of government. She further noted that publication of the revenue distribution would keep Nigerians abreast of the revenue generation and distribution efforts of the federal government and also help balance government performance with revenue inflows at all levels. In another development, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, has called for collective unity amongst people to achieve the dividend of democracy. He said democracy is nothing if it does not bring progress, development and unity among the people. The minister stated this during a courtesy visit by the APC North Central Zone in Abuja. He said this, noting the need for Nigerians to conduct some soul searching. In his speech, the National Vice Chairman of the APC North Central, Bawa Rijal, on behalf of the National Working Committee of the APC and zonal executives, congratulated the minister on his well-deserved appointment. He also thanked President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for appointing one of their own to this important position, noting this as a clear indication that the president appreciated the role Idris played during the campaign. On judicial matters, the Supreme Court has dismissed the appeal filed by the All Progressives Congress APC and its candidate in the last governorship election in Enugu State, Uche Nnaji, challenging the return of Peter Mbah of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) as winner of the election. A 5-member panel of the Apex Court held in a judgment today that the legal team of the APC and Nnaji filed invalid brief of argument and failed to convince the court with concrete reason why the appellant's incompetent brief should be allowed. In the lead judgment, Justice Tijani Abubakar held that since the appellant's brief was found to be invalid, the invalidity also affects the appeal in respect of which the appeal was filed. He proceeded to dismissing the brief and appeal filed by the appellants. Away from that now, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory FCT, Nyesom Wike, says the FCT administration will partner with the Nasarawa state government on the development of rail line and road transportation networks. Wike stated this when the Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa visited him in his office in Abuja today. Acknowledging the closeness of Nasarawa state to the FCT, the minister stressed the need for working in synergy for the development of the two entities. He said that the FCTA would open discussion with the Nasarawa government on the development of the metro rail line from Apo to Kefi and the completion of the road network from Abacha Barracks to Masaka. Meanwhile, Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule has inaugurated a modern abattoir in the Koya community of Karu local government area of the state to promote hygiene in the process of slaughtering animals in the area, following the outbreak of anthrax disease in the country. Speaking at the inauguration ceremony, the governor explained that the abattoir was built based on global best practices for the processing of safe, hygienic meat for the people. Meanwhile, the chairman, Garuba Mantu Nigeria Limited, and the developer of the abattoir, Patrick Ojo, while commending the governor for his constant support and cooperation since the project commenced, said the new abattoir has the capacity to serve the entire residents of Karu local government area and its environs. Ojo mentioned that the facilities in the new abattoir include a livestock butchering area, livestock burning zone, vehicle parking space, quarantine area, dressing rooms, and functional boreholes, among others. On to security matters now. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja, has directed commanders to renew their strength and ensure that criminal elements in the country are defeated. He ordered that the commanders work with other security agencies to ensure that the environment is safe and secure for citizens. The Corps spoke at the closing ceremony of the Chief of Army Staff Combined 2nd and 3rd Quarters Conference 2023 at the Army Headquarters Command Officers Mess 1, Asokoro, Abuja. This was contained in a statement today by the Director, Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu. Meanwhile, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has reaffirmed the Nigerian military's dedication to democratic values even in the face of recent coups in parts of Africa. Musa made the assertion during the opening of the first ever Chief of Defense Staff's Joint Task Force Commanders Conference at the Defense Headquarters, Abuja. The Defense Chief, in his speech, emphasized that the Nigerian armed forces are always ready to respond when needed, highlighting the importance of the conference. According to him, it is a chance to revamp the military's efforts against terrorism, improve relations with communities, and encourage the sharing of intelligence among the armed forces. Away from that now, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has reassigned portfolios to 2 members of his cabinet. The governor announced the change in designations today at the ongoing 2023 onboarding retreat program for the State Executive Council and body of permanent secretaries. The retreat has navigating government excellence, role of leadership in ensuring a greater Lagos rises as its theme. The governor reassigned Dr. Oreoluwa Fene, formerly Special Advisor, Ministry of Health, as Special Advisor to the Governor on Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino has advocated greater collaborations between the Ministry of Niger Delta Development and states within the region, assuring on the readiness of his administration to embrace such synergy to foster positive developments. Governor Eno made the advocacy while exchanging views with the delegation from the Ministry of Niger Delta Development led by the Minister Engineer Abubakar Momo, who paid him a courtesy visit at Government House, Uyo. The governor, who lauded President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's inclusivity disposition in governance, explained that the president has demonstrated governance beyond party lines, also congratulated Engineer Momo on his appointment as Minister of Niger Delta, saying that the slight delay in announcing a minister for the ministry had caused agitations among the people of the region. The governor said that the minister's visit to states of the region, particularly Akwa Ibom, was apt, and explained that the development plans of the ministry were already integral in the Arise Agenda Development Manual of his administration. Earlier, the Minister of Niger Delta Development, Engineer Abubakar Momo, had said his visit to the state was part of his tour of the region to seek synergy with state governors to garner full support from the federal government to expedite development in the Niger Delta region, and expressed delight over the warm reception accorded him in the state, pledging to ensure cooperation with the Moino-led government. Government House correspondent Jane Noir reports that Engineer Momo identified insecurity and infrastructure deficit as the challenge of the region and stressed the need to do away with all sorts of counterproductive power play and conflicts to make room for needed cooperation and collaborations to tackle the problems. Now, from the state legislature, the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly has received the 2023 supplementary appropriation bill from Governor Moino to the tune of 150 billion naira, where the bill was given accelerated hearing, scaling first and second reading. Also passed for second reading at plenary was a bill to amend Traditional Rulers Law Cap 155, Laws of Akwa Ibom State 2022, and for other matters connected therewith. The supplementary appropriation bill requested lawmakers to consider and approve an augmentation of the 2023 budget, authorizing the governor to appropriate and issue out 50,310,140,850 naira only from the Consolidated Revenue Fund and 99,689,859,150 naira for the Capital Development Fund totaling 150 billion naira. Deputy House Leader Barrister Ottobong Bob led debate on the general principles of the Supplementary Appropriation Bill. In their contributions, Chief Whip of the House and Mbo Representative Effiong Johnson and Deputy Speaker Kufrabasi Edidem gave kudos. Speaker of the House Udemo Tong committed the bill to the House Committee on Finance and Appropriation, chaired by Dr. Itoro Etem, for further legislative action. Meanwhile, the Traditional Rulers Amendment Bill also had its first and second readings, after which the lead sponsor Ottobong Bob gave the general principles of the law, saying it is aimed at strengthening the state's traditional institutions. The Speaker thus committed the bill to the House Committee on Local Government to report back to the House Thursday next week. Other bills that came up for first reading were Cattle Taxation and Control Bill and Agricultural Loan Bill, both sponsored by Mfon Idung, representing Etemepo Ika, and committed to Chairman Rules and Ethics for rescheduling. In the same vein, up for first reading as well was Akwa Ibom State Startup Bill 2023, sponsored by Uduagabong Epo, representing Etinan. In the meantime, the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly has urged the state government to direct relevant government agencies, including the Ministry of Environment, to commence the renovation and reopening of Ibom Plaza for public use. The House resolution was sequel to a motion by the member representing Uyo State constituency, Uwemedimo Asuko, at Thursday's plenary, which called for the renovation and reopening of Ibom Plaza. Asuko's motion, which was seconded by his Ikono State constituency counterpart, Asuko Nanaudo, explained that Ibom Plaza, located at the state capital, was constructed with state-of-the-art facility for business and recreational purposes during Governor Victor Attah's administration. The Uyo lawmaker noted with regret that since 2012, about 600 shops and stalls at the plaza have been abandoned, which has caused the people to resort to roadside trading within the plaza and its environs. In their contributions, House members including Moses Essien representing Ibiono, Ottobong Bob representing Nsirubium, and Ubong Attah representing Ibesikpo state constituencies all expressed divergent views in support of the motion.
Honorable House resolves to 1. Call for an on-the-spot assessment by the state government to Ibom Plaza, just as other hospitality and tourism sites like the Council for Arts and Culture, Ibom Tropicana, Ibom Icon Hotel and Golf Resort, Ifeanyi Beach Market, etc., were visited by the government. Direct the Minister of Environment through Akwa Ibom State Sanitation and Waste Management Agency to evacuate all the refuse at the facility and commence the cleaning up of Ibom Plaza. Enforce the complete usage of the plaza for businesses and recreation so as to discourage roadside trading within the plaza and its environment. Mr. Speaker, our colleagues, I sincerely appeal for the support for this very important motion as I so move.
Their contributions, House members including Moses Essien representing Ibiono, Ottobong Bob representing Nsirubium, and Ubong Attah representing Ibesikpo state constituencies, all expressed divergent views in support of the motion.
Because of the ambience of that Ibom Plaza,
I support this motion wholeheartedly.
Member representing Honorable Goodluck Ezekwesili State Constituency, and His Excellency Architect Obon Jota, Father of Mount Agbabu, on Silva of that project Igbo Plaza. Anytime I pass that plaza, I bleed, I cry, I shed tears, because the purpose of that plaza has changed. Sir, the plaza was conceived by His Excellency Akintola Jota to bring a facelift to Uyo. He modeled that plaza after the popular Trafalgar Square in the United Kingdom. He also set up a bypass to redirect traffic because that roundabout was too small to contain the traffic from the 5 roads linking to that roundabout. And because the popular Uyo was there, he remodeled the back of that plaza to contain shops. Now, each time I pass there, the shops are not used, but people resort to roadside selling, thereby causing traffic congestion along Akara, along Ikwebele Road, along Abak Road, and part of Oro Road, and going to Basway. So, it is my humble plea that I join with a member of you to ask the Federal House to direct all the relevant ministries, relevant government agencies to see to it that that plaza is rearranged for business to take place, and that the Igbo Plaza section, the recreational section, is clean and people.
Speaker of the House, Elder Udemo Tong, who presided over the plenary session, directed the clerk of the House, Nsikaka Basiorok, to write to Governor Moino, intimating him on the need to renovate and reopen the Ibom Plaza for business and recreational purposes.
Honourable members, I would direct the clerk of the House to draw the attention of His Excellency the Governor directly. I will not send it to the committee, send a letter to His Excellency the Governor, and so that he can direct the relevant ministries to work on this plaza. Also bring the beauty of a private state to what it was designed for. Those in support say aye. Those against ayes have it.
The House eventually adjourned seating to Thursday, 21st September 2023, with seating time pegged at 10 a.m. Meanwhile, the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly has called on Governor Moino to OK swift implementation of the Local Government Administration Law, which mandates principal officers of the Council to reside within their local government headquarters as contained in Section 78, Cap 90 of the Local Government Administration Laws of Akwa Ibom State. The House made the call during Thursday's plenary, particularly mandating the Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs to commence strict enforcement of the provisions of the extant law by ensuring that adequate punishment is visited on any erring council official. Receiving a motion brought to the House by the Deputy Speaker and member representing Itu State constituency, Kufra Basiadidem, titled Urgent Need for Strict Enforcement of the Provisions of Akwa Ibom State Local Government Administration Law, which mandates principal officers to reside within their local government area headquarters. The Speaker, Udemo Tong, later mandated the Clerk of the House, Nsikaka Basiorok, to communicate the resolution of the House to the Governor. The motion, which was seconded by Mfon Idung, member representing Etemepo State constituency, who also doubles as Chairman, House Committee on Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, had the mover of the motion, Kufra Basiadidem, listing those affected by the stipulations of the law. while taking time to enumerate the importance of the third tier of government. The House in Thursday's plenary also received a motion calling on the state government to reconstruct the Ikorok-Panabia Oboyo Ikorita Road. Sponsored by Eric Akpan, member representing Sribom State constituency, and one other motion. Still to come in the news. Cocoa remains close to 45-year peak. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to Africa, where Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema met his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in Beijing for bilateral talks today. The two leaders agreed to upgrade their ties to a comprehensive strategic cooperative partnership. China has significant stakes in Zambia's mining sector, while the Southern African nation seeks to restructure its mounting external debt with its leading creditor. Meanwhile, President Xi said China and Zambia's friendship had withstood the test of international storms and changes and encouraged more imports from the African country. Still in Africa, Niger's military junta has scrapped nearly 1,000 diplomatic passports belonging to government officials who served in the ousted government of President Mohamed Bazoum. Among them are advisors to the former president, staff who worked for former Prime Minister Omodo Mahamadou, plus MPs and various heads of public institutions. Reports say the move was announced in a letter from the Foreign Ministry to the heads of Niger's foreign diplomatic missions, saying it had to be done because the officials were no longer in a position to hold the said passports. Recall that 2 weeks ago, Niger's military junta also cancelled 5 diplomatic passports, including those of former Prime Minister Mahamadou, former ambassador to France Aïchato Boulama Kane, and ex-foreign minister Azumi Massoudou. Meanwhile, Mali's ruling junta has cancelled Independence Day celebrations planned for next week following a resumption of hostilities in the northern part of the country. The junta leader, Simi Goïta, ordered the government to allocate the funds planned for this year's festivities to helping victims of recent deadly terrorist attacks. Meanwhile, the Council of Ministers, in a statement, said the anniversary would be celebrated in sobriety and in the spirit of national revival. In the meantime, the commander of Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces, RSF, Lieutenant General Mohamed Dagalo, has threatened to form his own government with Khartoum as its capital if the army sets up an administration in the eastern city of Port Sudan. Dagalo, in a post on his X handle, said the RSF had shown great patience regarding al-Burhan's individual decisions despite the legitimacy the illegitimacy. The RSF leader's threat followed reports that the military-led government plans to build a presidential palace and the headquarters of its foreign ministry in Port Sudan in the Red Sea state. Reports say the city has been serving as the government's operating base since the conflict broke out between the regular army and the RSF in Khartoum in mid-April. Meanwhile, Kenyan detectives have arrested a Polish drug trafficking suspect with $22,000 worth of heroin at the main airport in the capital, Nairobi. Kadush Stanislo, the suspect, was arrested moments before boarding a Hungary-bound Egyptian airline at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. According to reports, police have detained the suspect, who is awaiting to be arraigned in court. Meanwhile, Kenya's Director of Anti-Narcotics Directorate, Margaret Karanja, warns that all drug suspects will be treated with the severity of the law, regardless of their roles in the trade. The East African country is a key transit point for drugs from the Middle East to the West. Elsewhere, the large number of decomposing bodies still under collapsed structures and in flood waters in Dana City has raised concerns about the risk of disease for survivors. Libya's Interior Minister Ahmed Al-Trabelsi told newsmen that health authorities were investigating health hazards in the city and would make a decision on the threat of a potential outbreak. He said electricity has been connected to some areas of Dana and work was underway around the clock to restore services. The minister put the official death toll at 3,000, with more than 2,800 people still missing. Meanwhile, there is discrepancy over these figures, with Libya's ambassador to the UN saying about 6,000 people have died so far. The Red Crescent put that number higher at 11,300. In a related development, the United Nations UN is urgently seeking more than $71 million to assist those in need after deadly flash floods swept Libya. Reports say hurricane-strength storm Daniel slammed into Libya on September 10, killing over 5,000 people, with thousands more still missing. In a flash appeal, the United Nations Humanitarian Agency Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, said it expects the toll to rise. OCHA said estimates suggest 30% of the city may have disappeared, and with most roads collapsed, local authorities are calling for a sea corridor to be established and relief and evacuations. Still on the foreign scene, a migrant reception center in Italy's southernmost island of Lampedusa was overwhelmed as authorities worked to transfer to the mainland thousands of people who arrived on small, unseaworthy boats in a 24-hour span this week. The Red Cross said there were still 4,200 migrants at the center out of the 6,800 who reached the tiny tourist and fishing island in a flotilla of some 120 boats that set out from Tunisia. Reports say commercial ferries and Italian military vessels were taking newcomers from Lampedusa to mainland Italy. Meanwhile, some residents handed out pasta, Sicilian rice balls and water to the migrants they encountered. In separate developments, Ukraine's armed forces said today they had retaken the village of Andrivka near the key frontline city of Bakhmut, a day after claims it had been liberated were dubbed premature. The capture comes ahead of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's trip to Washington, where he is expected at the White House and on Capitol Hill next week. In the meantime, Russia's Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov has said that Moscow sees the potential for cooperation both in aircraft manufacturing and in other industries with North Korea. Manturov, who is also Minister of Industry and Trade, made this known when he accompanied the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on his tour of the aircraft manufacturing facility in Komsomolsk on Amur today. Manturov said the cooperation is relevant for achieving the tasks both countries face to achieve technological sovereignty. Still on the foreign scene, a European Union regulator fined a Chinese-owned social media platform TikTok €345 million over child data breaches today. Ireland's Data Protection Commission said in a statement that it has handed down the administrative fine, which is equivalent to $369 million over the breaches it uncovered in a 2-year inquiry. The watchdog, which plays a central role in enforcing EU data rules, gave TikTok 3 months to make the appropriate changes. Ireland's DPC also play a key role in policing the bloc's strict general data protection regulations. It will be recalled that the watchdog in September 2021 began examining TikTok's compliance with GDPR in relation to